ago, but he's 17 years old. He's been in 4 foster homes. He did not meet his natural mother until October 11th, 2011. Been in 4 foster homes, 2 in Pulaski and 2 here in Nashville. He's a member of Cross Point Church, and his mother's a member of Percy Priest Missionary Baptist Church. He's the president of the Student Government Association at Hillwood, and he's also on the honor roll and a student ambassador. He was a defensive end for the Hillwood football team, and he was state champion as a sophomore of the debate team. So he was all city in football. He was a state runner-up in shot put and discus last year. He declined, now listen to this, he declined a scholarship. Hello, Paula.
Hey.
Say hi to Deshaun.
Hello.
And Drew.
Hello.
Paula and Ash. He declined a scholarship, believe it or not, at MBA as in the 8th grade and his sophomore year. And his brother Gregory is going to MBA as a freshman this year on scholarship. His sister Janicia is graduating this month from East Literature and going to Lipscomb, and his other sister Amaya is a Hume Fall graduate, and she's already at Lipscomb, so she's achieving as well. He never knew his dad, and he, as I mentioned, met his mother. Come in here, Helendale. And just after his birth, 17 years ago here in Nashville, Deshaun was sent to a foster home in Pulaski. He's an AP scholar, an honor roll at Hillwood, and graduates May 18th. State debate, he was 3rd place as a junior last year. He wrote 30-plus essays, guys, 30-plus essays, as he applied to 14 colleges and universities. So, here's where he applied. He applied at Harvard, Vanderbilt, UT Chattanooga, UT Knoxville, Vassar, Morehouse, Howard, Dartmouth, Eckerd, Rhodes, Stanford, George Washington, Lamar, and Sewanee. He was accepted by 9 of the 14. He's decided to go to Sewanee and starts the 11th of August. And he will be there on scholarship. And as I mentioned, he was awarded a 4-year, $10,000 scholarship from Bootstraps Foundation. Drew and I are in the Kiwanis Club, and this is one of our passions, one of our focuses, where it's a 501c3, and we raise money to help kids who have overcome unbelievable adversity to achieve and continue college. So, really good guy. Has even overcame some adversity last night. And yesterday when I picked him up, my car was broken and had to get a window fixed, and the guy fixing it was the TSU policeman. And I went and picked him up for lunch yesterday in a TSU police car. Oh boy. Typical George, Paula. Typical George. Holy moly.
You need to stay away from him if you at all costs. Stay away.
Yeah, that's right. Paula's my spiritual parole officer. Yeah, that's right.
I have one question. When is this young man asleep?
Listen, I don't know. I picked him up at 5 after 8. Guess what happened this morning? He met Mr. Bass, 102 and a half years old. He turns 103 July 12th. And when I told Big Jim Bass that Deshaun was a senior at Hillwood and going to Sewanee, boy, did he smile big. Big Jim Bass said, well, Deshaun, I'll tell you something. I'm the oldest living alum at both MBA and Sewanee.
Oh, wow.
And so we got probably the youngest guy going to Sewanee at 17, and we got the oldest guy, and I got their picture. So I'm on Deshaun's honor roll right now. He's digging my chicken for some reason. And he sat with Edie Bass and Mr. Bass and Lydia today in church, which was just wonderful, really good. And kids his age were speaking. So, and leading the church service through Mark DeVries, who's just a peach and a half. So without further ado, this guy just generates inspiration. And I met him 2 weeks ago as we had dozens and dozens and dozens of applications for the Bootstraps scholarships. And we do this every year, and we only award 6. And the 6, and we did it Thursday night, and it was just fabulous. So without further ado, I'm going to shut up and let Deshaun talk.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sean Hancock once again. I have 2 questions for you all today. 1, how deep is your faith in God? And 2, are you willing to get out of your comfort zone? The story that I'm about to tell you all serves for inspiration and hope. And as I begin my essay, I'd like to begin. Once again, my name is Sean Hancock, and one day I'm going to become a successful lawyer. Soon after being born, I was placed in state's custody with my 2 eldest sisters in Nashville, Tennessee. And when I say soon after being born, I mean the next day. When I turned 2 years old, we were adopted by a woman named Ada Jones, and soon after we moved to her hometown, Pulaski, Tennessee. My adopted mother did not work, so we lived in a metal shack on her sister's farm. The shack was extremely small and compact. With the 4 of us, including her boyfriend, it did not have a bathroom or kitchen or any working lights. We washed up in the back storage house, and our bathroom was at a bar across the other side of the farm. I attended Pulaski Elementary School, and it was there I experienced racial discrimination for the first time. I was paddled by my teachers occasionally for no apparent reason, and was forbidden to play with or take naps with my Caucasian classmates. Every year on Martin Luther King's Jr. Day, the Ku Klux Klan would march. Due to my mother's poor financial situation, the repeated beatings from her boyfriend, and the death of her own biological son and husband, we left Pulaski in the middle of the night, never looking back. Upon moving to Nashville, I knew I would try everything in my power to create a better life for my family, including my 2 sisters, Amaya and Janicia, and my biological newborn brother, Gregory, whom adopted mother adopted. My family continued to live in poverty, public housing, welfare, and basic rag clothing. Along with this, my adopted mother and her grown biological children abused my siblings and me. My middle school teachers had donated clothing and food to our family to help us. We relied on the city bus system to get to and from our desired destinations. Throughout my neighborhood, I witnessed robberies, shootings, homicides, burglaries, which were all common in my neighborhood. At the time, there was a gang war going on when I was a kid, and I witnessed a lot of shootings, murders, suicides, gang violence, and a lot of blood on the concretes as a young child, and a lot of loneliness, I have to add. Without having someone being a role model or someone worrying about what time you come in at night, how are you going to eat the next day, you really think, am I really cared for in the world? But how am I going to make a meaning out of myself in this world? The lack of love or care at home affected my behavior in school. The house we lived in was robbed 6 times, and my most precious possession, my game system, was stolen. The lack of love and care at home affected not only us, but the people around us. I was frequently suspended and started to hang around the neighborhood. Eventually, I ended up in the juvenile detention center. I went there repeatedly for defending my sisters against those who meant harm. After a while, the Tennessee Department of Children's Services intervened several times, but nothing was accomplished. I continuously fought in the neighborhood and pursued a life of violent behavior, followed by trips to juvenile court. On my last trip to juvenile detention, I realized I needed to pursue a better life full of positive influences so I could lead my sisters and brother through the hard times ahead. At the end of my first year at Hillwood High School, I became very interested in the law and decided to be a lawyer. I want to make a difference in the lives of others. I started to talk and dress differently. But by the end of 11th grade, I managed to raise my grade point average from a mere 1.9 to a 3.4. I started to earn all A's and began taking AP classes. I joined the forensics and debate team and my trial team. I played varsity football and participated in track and field, in which I was defensive captain ever since I was a sophomore until the end of my senior year. All of my success came to a halt when my youngest brother was shot in our living room while watching television by a random drive-by. He was watching Cartoon Network, and there was, of course, a gang war going on back last year. And they were doing a drive on a couple of individual drug dealers around my neighborhood, which was right in front of our house, and they missed, and they came through the window. The The shooting was random, a common occurrence in our neighborhood. However, it never happened to us. It could have been me shot in the head. The event was a turning point because the juvenile court interceded and removed me and my siblings from the adopted home and placed us back into my biological mother's home. My mother was given custody over us October 6, 2011. However, I did not know my mother until October 6, 2011. We did not live with her when she was given custody. We had to switch from foster home to different foster home until last year on October 6th on the second court proceeding. And I wanted to bring today's theme from church out, and it's getting uncomfortable. And the reason why I want to bring that theme in today's class is because getting uncomfortable is sometimes good. Because if we do not get uncomfortable with ourselves, then how will we grow in life? If we are so used to the things that we know and do now, then how will we have the chance to grow in our faith? If we do not step out and help others who are less fortunate than us, then how will we grow spiritually and morally? Everyone has their own personal values. But in the society today, how will we grow if we cannot share or give inspiration to those who are less fortunate, and less privileged than us? And the reason why I found today's theme important for me is because throughout the trials in my life, I always persevered through the help of others and the help of my 3 other siblings. It was imperative for me to get out of my comfortable zone, from my neighborhood. A lot of people say out north is a trap. You know, people listen to rap music and they hear rappers these days talking about trap this, trap that. But when you're living in this neighborhood, you actually see the real meaning of the word trap. And what I saw growing up was people satisfied with their living that they did not try their best to get out of that trap and better themselves. So that is what I wanted to do. I wanted to get uncomfortable with my surroundings and venture out into something new. I knew for a fact that there was a real spiritual meaning, personal meaning, and moral meaning in my life than just staying in my neighborhood and letting my family situation keep me down and prevent me from progressing in life. The events that led up to where I am now have impacted my interest in criminal law. I want to help people who are misrepresented and whose rights are not upheld. This led to me trying harder in debate, student council, student government, and my trial team. In 2011, I was awarded the top debater for my district. I was elected SJ president at Hillwood High School in 2012. The summer before senior year, I interned at the Public Defender's Office in Nashville. Additionally, I've shadowed Nashville Councilwoman Erica Gilmore, District 19. My experience helped me learn about the law and how it can help the indigent after experiencing what I have. I am confident I want to become a public defender. Never give up on faith, and that is what I've learned throughout my life. It is not only imperative, but important for us all to rely on God. It does not matter how severe the situation is. You cannot forget your faith in God. You cannot give up your faith in God. Because without Him, we cannot persevere or survive. Thank you all for hearing my story and allowing me to speak here today. And is there any questions? And I would love
I'm going to go get him some water. Ask questions. Do something else.
Excuse me. Did you begin your faith journey in Pulaski or at Crossroads or somewhere in between?
Well, throughout my life, I was raised in different nominal churches, Methodist, Church of Christ, Baptist, Missionary Baptist. But actually, last year I was baptized. I believed in God, but last year was the actual time where I just said, I'm going to give my life to Christ and get baptized. Now, throughout my life, I knew God, I knew His teachings, and I knew what I was supposed to do, morally what was right, personally what was right, but I never had anyone encourage me to actually pursue a life in Jesus Christ. I had to find it out by myself. And that was when my spiritual journey began.
Where do you live now?
I live John Henry Hill Apartments, downtown Nashville. Have you ever just went downtown and seen those colorful houses right there by downtown Nashville?
Now, where is it?
It's on the corner of Joe Johnson Avenue and I think Charlotte.
Yeah.
And you live with your mother?
My biological mother, yes, ma'am. And actually, that's what George was saying. Actually, I won't have to go through a trial last night because it is now that we've moved into a new household and there are different opinions and personalities and we're not used to each other. It's still hard, but day to day we get through it. And that is why I keep my faith, excuse me.
Well, where was your mother all this time?
She was a prostitute and she was a cocaine addict. So for 15 years of my life, she was on the streets, homeless. And I was homeless, actually 2 years ago. I lived in the alley, in a car, in an abandoned car. And because of my foster home, we were always split up in different foster homes, but in the end, we ended up coming together. But in my foster home, we didn't know, if anyone's familiar with the Department of Children's Services, the foster parent gets money from the government every year.
Absolutely.
However, my foster mother did not use that money to benefit us. She used it for her own interest. She bought a house actually down in Pulaski, and she bought cars and everything for her other thinking. She bought cars and everything for her children. So we basically did not have clothing. We lived in horrible living conditions. We really didn't ever have food. Actually, I actually waited to get to school to eat the lunch, breakfast as well as lunch, and that was the only dinner that lunch and breakfast I only had for the rest of the day. And throughout this whole time, I really didn't. I can, now that I think about it, when I was young, I seen my real mother probably once, but I would never have guessed that was her.
So I wonder what happened that she straightened herself out.
Well, she's a minister now at Crosspoint, but First Christian Missionary Baptist Church. So I think she found God, and it took her a while to clean up. She doesn't like talking about her story. Now we just hear it from her cousin because every time she talks about it, it's like really emotional. Yes.
How'd you get connected with Bootstraps?
Well, this is a funny thing. I was walking to class the last day. No, actually, it was the day after the Bootstrap Foundation scholarship was actually open. And I was walking to class, and my guidance counselors, they actually recommend the students, one student out of every school, out of their school. And I was walking to class, and my counselor said, "Sean, come here." It's like, "Yes." He's like, Hillwood recommends you to be the Bootstrap Foundation scholarship recipient. So you need to do the scholarship. It actually was due yesterday, but I really recommend you doing the essay right now. And turn it in before 2:05. And I remind you, it was 1:05. It was 1:05 at the time. And I was like, what? And I'd be in class, I was going to freak out. I was like, okay. So I sat there and wrote my essay right there and typed it up, gave it to her. And honestly, I was like, I'm not going to win. It's a huge pool. You always hear about these huge scholarships that everyone's applying to, and you never win. And then soon after that, I sent an email to Mrs. Angela Nordstrom, thanking everyone on the committee for giving me the opportunity to actually apply for the scholarship. And next thing you know, 2 weeks later, I was a recipient. And it really helped me a lot. So that's how I was introduced to this.
Do you speak in schools?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, for the Academy Ambassador, we usually go around to different schools. And we usually talk about the different problems within the schools, not behavior problems, but Hillwood, we're now accredited nationally as a modeled high school. So we go around, when people come to our school and I'll give the tours. Whenever we go to board meetings, I go to the board meetings and talk for Hillwood. And that's
Good for you.
The Tiptons live right across from Hillwood.
Yeah, we lived in Hillwood.
Aren't y'all on Greeley or Darden?
Well, we're on Huckleberry.
Huckleberry, yeah.
Which is down, well, there's Greeley and Darden and Elizabethan and then Huckleberry.
Yeah.
I really enjoy your story so far. I'm interested in knowing what inspired you, what violations of human rights witnessed to make you want to be a public defender.
Oh, okay, so in Pulaski, at the time in the 1990s, if everyone's familiar with Pulaski, Tennessee, that was the home of the Ku Klux Klan. And as I stated in my speech, on Martin Luther King's Day, they will lynch African Americans, and they were still doing it in the 1990s. So I would literally see people being lynched, and I heard stories about it. And there was this one attorney at the time. The town is small. Have you guys ever been to Pulaski, Tennessee? The town is really small. So all the African Americans, we lived out in the woods, basically. I lived on the farm. And there was this one attorney who worked downtown. He didn't get paid a lot, but he had all his law books and everything. And I was really, at the time, you know, going through all these challenges, I really never kind of thought about education. I didn't even know what college was until I was actually a sophomore in high school. And I just thought when people grew up out of high school, they just left. And I thought that's what that was. And, you know, I see him, he was studying a lot. He's actually a really good, bless his heart, he's dead now. He was actually a good attorney. But that was where it started. I really didn't kind of focus on law after that. But it was until I actually came and lived in Nashville and then out north in that area where I could just be walking down the street and the police would pull me over and search me and actually just take me to juvenile for no apparent reason. And when I was in juvenile, I actually stayed in juvenile for 5 months on no charges at all. And I didn't even do anything. And then I thought to myself, you know, what struck me, I had asked for a book one time during, you know, when I was going frequently. And they were like, no, we're not going to give you a book. And I was like, why? There's a lot of books on that shelf. So why can't you give me one? I was like, no, we're not going to give you one. And my cellmate was like, this is crazy. This is crazy how our society now just leaves us basically in places like this to rot. I mean, even if we didn't do the crime, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, there were some things I were involved in, you know, being that young and being influenced, but other times where I was not, you know, when I was changing and going through my stage, I would still be targeted by state police. And I said, wow, you know, I really want to make a change in this. I know it's gonna be hard, but when will someone stand up and they know for a fact what's going on, and when they're gonna stand up and see and try to make a change? And that's how I really got into law.
Have you read the Tennessean series on the Department of Children's Services?
Lately?
Yeah, past couple.
I read one article, I can't quite remember what it was.
They've been investigating it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, see, honestly, one thing I have to say about that, throughout my life, you know, there were abuse, there were neglect and everything. The children's services would usually come in, but there was nothing being done.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I really disliked growing up was the children's service, whenever we would go to court, the judge and the attorneys would never listen to the kids. And that's one thing you have to listen to when you're in cases like that, what the kids have to say. It was always what the parents have to say. And my foster parent, but I would say that it was the kids' fault. They're defiant. They're not going to be anything. Growing up, actually, I was always let down. No one would believe that I would be standing here now talking to a group of lovely people, sharing my story. It was always, you're African-American male, you're going to jail. You're going to go to jail, you're going to die. And when they see me now, it's like, whoa, you know, 360. But it's things like that that serves my story as hope and inspiration. But yes, living in a foster home and Department of Children's Services, that's true. And there are some cons to growing up in a foster home and the service there. But hopefully they're getting better. Still, there are a lot of problems. I know I have a lot of friends now who are still in foster homes, and they witness the same things.
So would you say that foster homes are would you say that your experience was more isolated, or that the foster parents are generally just out for the money and ignoring the kids? Are there how many good foster parents are there?
There are a lot of good foster parents. Actually, I have a friend now, they attend this church, I think. It's the church this morning. She actually adopted one of my good friends. I didn't know him, but he lived in kind of a situation like mine, but opposite. They were drunks and everything, so he was constantly abused, and they adopted him, and it was a true blessing. It changed his life around. He's a senior. He's going to, I think, where's he going? I think George Washington or NYU, and literally have been really blessed by this family. I was spending the night all the time, and then the woman, his mom, foster mom, she would usually come in, hey, do you want this? Do you need this? Do you need that? We would come over, hey, do y'all, because they know our situation, hey, do you guys need this? Do you guys need that? I was like, you have been extremely blessed. Instead of you coming out of a family and going into another family that is just as abusive, not even more, you have been blessed with this Christian, rounded, polite family, opposed to, you know, me coming out from a drug-crazed family going into different foster homes and foster families that just really didn't care about you. That is a true blessing. So I'm not gonna say it's the same for every foster family. There are families who are just in it for the money, but there are other families who really want to make a change.
So do they not interview? I mean, you would think there would be some really strict, some safety guidelines.
Now they have set some guidelines, but back then it wasn't really that interactive with the family and the Department of Children's Services. And if it was, someone would have, there's been plenty of times with my teachers at school seeing marks on my arm and everything, and on my sister's arm, and my brothers' arms and different bruises, and they were like, what happened? And we would tell them, and either they would stay quiet, or they would tell the Department of Children's Services, and they would come over just one night and just talk, and everyone would say, and my foster parents would say, oh, he fell, or this happened, that happened. They'd be like, oh, well, that's okay, and they will leave. And then the abuse will still continue to happen.
Well, the 4 foster families you had over 16 years.
Yes, sir.
2 were good.
So the last one, the 4th foster home, I stayed there. I lived in Pulaski with them until I was, what, 6 or 7? 7 all the way from 16 until I was 16 years old. I just turned 17 last September. And when I was born, I went to one foster home in Florida, and I came back to Tennessee, and I went to Pulaski, and we switched to another foster home, and then we ended up coming back. I still remember the night where they came in, and they were like, come on, you guys just get one pair of clothes, and we're going to another foster home. And we went over to this woman, Shamika Jackson's house, and that was our foster mother for, I think, like a month, and we left back. So the woman that adopted us, Ada Mae Jones, she worked with my mother at a factory, and my mother, she didn't keep the job. My biological mother, I learned this later on, she really didn't keep the job because, of course, she was on drugs. So we moved back to Pulaski, which is ironic. And you know, now that we live in Pulaski, Elton, Mount Pleasant, Columbia, you guys, in that area down there on the border of Alabama, and so it was changing for different foster homes.
Were you or any of your siblings born with drug addiction?
See, that is what the doctors said, because when I was born, my mother, the stories that I hear about her, she had so much cocaine in her system when I was born that I was going to be deformed.
Well, they were wrong.
They actually, when I was born, throughout my childhood, they put me in MIP classes. So I had to take these. Yeah, of course, everyone knows about MIP. I didn't get to take classes with other students. I would always have to do like reading quizzes and everything. And I went to an alternative school as well, but that was before behavior. And I graduated within a year for good behavior. But in 2005, I had a tumor the size of a grapefruit in my hindbrain, and it was actually pushing my eye out. And I should have brought the picture for you guys to see. You can actually see in my baseball picture, you can see my eye coming out. And my older foster sister's like, well, throughout the whole foster home, there was that one sibling, not the blood sibling, that would always care for us. And she was at the time 16 or 17 years old, so she had to come home from school, go to work and everything, and take care of us. And she said, something's wrong with your eye. You need to go find out what's going on. So we went to the doctor, and they said, if you did not come within, thank God you came today, because if you came later, your eye, you would have literally been sitting somewhere and your eye would have popped out.
Oh my God.
And so in 2005, I got surgery, and I still remember I woke up, everyone was around my bed, because I remember going into the surgery, you know, aesthetics, I think. Anesthesia, sorry. It was a water pillow. So I got out, And I was waking up, and everyone's crying because the doctor said he lost a lot of blood, which I did, because I had to go back there and get it. But thank God I didn't have any scars or anything, but you still kind of see a scar here. And they left. They only took 95% of the tumor out, because I don't know why, but I think you have to keep 5% in. So I have to always go back for checkups to Dr. Russell's office. But I think that surgery was kind of got my mind functioning correctly, because after that I grew in size as well as my mental abilities. And I soon, after that, got into regular classes and didn't know about honor AP classes until junior year. So junior year, took 2 AP classes, and then the rest were honor classes. You don't count electives or anything. And senior year, 4 AP classes, I will be graduating AP scholar student, and the rest honor classes. So it's a huge turnaround, I think.
Yes, good for you.
You know, I'm still confused. Kind of the question she had. Did the Department of Children's Services ever go on site down in Pulaski and look around and say, we can't have children living in this squalor? I mean, they just left you there?
Well, with the what had happened, there was a house. My auntie, it's a farm. She had a house, a trailer park actually. It was not in a trailer park, but she had a kind of trailer mobile house. And what happened was that shack was literally, oh man, it was probably from where George is sitting over to the wall and length, but in width, probably from here to this board all the way right here. And what happened was, well, they knew for a fact, I don't know how, but they knew that the children's park, they didn't just pop up. They set dates, and whenever they would set dates, they would say that my auntie's house was our house. And I still remember to this very day that, and when we moved down to Nashville, they will make us clean up before they come over. And I wish I could bring pictures of the house now, because the house now is just horrible. And what I mean by we lived in horrible conditions. We had broken windows. We had, the dishes were disgusting. The refrigerator. Have you ever been in the Hoarders? You ever seen the show Hoarders? I think that's the name of the show. The house, you couldn't walk on the floor. You had to literally walk on clothes. And I wish I would have brought a picture. Because the living conditions were horrible. There were roaches everywhere. We had rats. I still remember we had a size of rat about that large, and the tail was that long. And it was a hole in the wall about this big. And there's been times where we didn't have air conditioning, so we had fans. We didn't have heat during the winter, so we had to put plastic wrap around the windows. I still remember we didn't have hot water because the hot water heater broke, so we would have to go to the next door backyard, put water in a pot, and come home and boil it. I remember there's been times we went out without electricity, so I had to come to school early, and when we had football practice in the mornings, and take a shower.
And this is with the foster parents,
yes, sir,
supposedly supporting you.
Yes, sir.
The state of Tennessee
giving them
supervising.
I think was it $1,500 per individual? I think that's how much.
Yeah.
But she bought a house down in Pulaski.
So what about where you live now?
It's great. Of course,
the brightly colored homes on Charlotte,
I tore down all those projects and put in those nice old
40th Avenue?
duplexes.
No, it's around right past the interstate.
Paddock's Pharmacy, right there.
Yeah.
Right before you get to Meharry, and you go down Charlotte, and then right after the interstate overpass, there are all these brightly colored homes, and they're just great. God, they're nice. And the people keep them well, and it's safer, and it's well lit.
They have a lot around 40th Avenue,
yeah.
because I go.
Yeah, that's right, they do.
It's by the Foundry, I think. By the Foundry.
It's right near, the back of it is the old Marathon building.
It's much safer than all
George, you need to get him to go and talk to some of these very privileged children that are in private schools that think they have it so bad.
No. Well, now this is unbelievable to me. When you told me, and this just shows you what a knucklehead I am, but he turned down 2 scholarships to MBA, best school in the state, because of peer pressure.
Yeah.
Peer pressure.
Yeah, I can see it.
And actually, a lot of people from these private schools know me because, of course, NBA and Ensworth have great debate teams. NBA, actually, they go to nationals every year, and I've actually been in their debate rooms and actually debated against them. They're amazing. A lot of my friends, I have a lot of friends that I've met throughout the years that their parents see something in me, so they were trying their best to help me and my family. And, you know, there are times where I go to these private schools and a lot of kids are like, oh my gosh, my parents didn't buy me a new BMW. And I hate this BMW. And, you know, I'm stuck riding the bus. And I'm like, you know, God is good. And, I mean, I'm proud of everything that I have because, you know, God has given it to me. He's blessed me. And I'm just going to be grateful for what I have. And, you know, growing up, you know, we've really never really had anything. And I tell everyone that, you know, when I met George, he said, you know, growing up, never really had anything. And I don't want my kids or my grandchildren or anyone, I want to pave a way for them, you know.
Yeah.
And my story and where I get in the end of my life, I want people in similar neighborhoods, like my old neighborhood, to know for a fact that if he could persevere through his life's trials, why can't we? This is not a life for anyone. And I know a lot of people here, see, one thing that I always kind of express is that a lot of people hear what's going on in these neighborhoods, but they're not actually there living in that neighborhood.